The Tesla Model Y is finally here officially in Ireland through Tesla. And the order books are now open, and this car only landed in the country last week, hence the plates, hence left-hand drive. It's not even an Irish car, well, for the Irish market. But it has been announced as going on sale for just a smidgen under €70,000. It's a 10 grand jump, like all other Teslas, to the performance version of it, which we'll cover in the drive, but that's even faster. But this one, it's pretty good. So it's dual motored. It's got everything a Model 3 has with a bit more height. That's essentially the selling point of this car. 95% of it is very, very similar. The front opens the same way, although it's not as big storage space wise. You still got a low slung nose, but it does stick out a bit more because it's obviously different design of the car. You can get up to 21-inch alloy wheels on it. These are 19s. And the 21s, well, I've no experience of telling you what it feels like, but going with the 19s, I would tread carefully, no pun intended, if you want to get bigger alloys, because you will pay for it in the right quality. It's quite a big car. I don't know if the angles of it actually do it justice on film, because parked up beside an X, which this was earlier today when I collected it, it's actually not that much smaller. It just doesn't have the gull-wing doors that come up. But I mean, I'm not quite 6 foot, but you can see it's quite a tall car. And that benefits in loads of interior headspace because there's tons of it. And the cameras around the sides, they're black, just like the latest revised version of the Model 3. The door handles are also black, and the mirror housing. And actually something around the other side of the car I'll just show you, just to make it easier for rear passengers, maybe kids, to get in. When you pop the door handle, it gently opens the door just about half an inch, makes it easier to pull it open. And in here is tons and tons of legroom because it's got a flat floor. There's no vents coming all the way back into your legs. So you'll actually fit, dare I say it, well, 3 teenagers in the back. Now the middle passenger, it might be a little bit squished, but it's okay, it's doable. Now, if you're new to the channel, or you like checking out EVs or any kind of cars, then this is what we do. So if you haven't subscribed yet, would love you to. And if there's any chance you can support us, we are a fully independent YouTube channel. There's Patreon links and PayPal links, and for like €5 a month, you can give us a subscription over on Patreon if that is something you're able to do. If not, just comment, like, whatever you can do. Thank you. It's almost 2 meters wide. Just for context, it's a big car. An 854 litre boot awaits you in here. Really easy to fold down the rear seats. There's buttons here. It just goes. It's beautiful. Now, unfortunately, holding them back, you've got to do it manually. You've got room for charging cables, but not just charging cables down here. You could actually fit a child. Not that you'd be putting children down here, but you know, you could take that out and put your dog into it and still have space for luggage over here. And then this part also clips out and you can store more stuff under here. And actually, I'm not sure if it's just me, but even the carpets are getting better quality inside Teslas, which is good. There's a tiny little dotted light here, which just nicely lights it up. And they're the little kind of quirky things that are a little bit different, and it's a powered tailgate. Now this big spoiler sticks out quite a bit, but it also gives you more space in the boot. And your sloping glass, totally black and privacy. This big diffuser here, if that's what you want to call it, it is big and grey and plasticky. So there's 167 millimeters of ground clearance. If you like people who they might want to step into the car, you're kind of stepping into it. You're not stepping up, you're not stepping down. It's all right though. Nice solid reassuring thud off those doors. Seats are very, very comfortable. These headrests, I'll hopefully pick up the rattle in the drive, but if you lower them down, the rattle goes. So as soon as you take ownership of your Model Y, pop them down, okay? And don't forget, little handy handles here for holding on to things. They don't feel like they're the firmest. Now that glass roof floods in the light, but it's lovely and tinted as well, so on a really bright day I can imagine it doesn't cause you problems. So even the center column here that comes back a little bit in towards the car, it's not adjustable like, for example, the Ioniq 5, which you can watch a review of up there, but it's cut out into a way that there really is extra room for the middle passenger, especially to just kind of stretch the legs. Now, these seats are nicely up off the floor for boots and just things, and the fact that you've got a flat floor also makes it a comfortable place to sit. And then if you're not using this middle seat, you have a nice wide armrest. Just chillax in and get comfortable as you're driven on your journey. If these seats are raised up, they kind of restrict your view out this way. So you're kind of just staring at the back of this. There's a little bit of storage back here, but it's not huge. So you're not going to fit tons of things in here, but you will get an iPad or something like that. There's also 2 USB-C charging ports subtly built into the vents there. You can do all sort of auto locking things with the child doors for the child locks are back here. And in fairness, it's quite a wide opening if you're trying to get child seats in and out. Again, that statistic from Tesla that it's pretty much 95% Model 3 continues here. I mean, it is a more elevated seating position. You've got a nice clear view over your steering wheel, but then all the same familiar options are still there. If you want to mess around with any of the settings in the car, for example, adjust your steering wheel, you still press the buttons and the controls to raise and lower, and you can adjust things as you like them, because some people like their car further away from them, or some people like sitting on top of steering wheels. So it kind of really depends what you're into, but there's loads of scope there for doing it. Like the Model 3, by the way, you can watch the Model 3 review up there. I haven't mentioned that. There's space for 2 mobile phones here. There's nice damping on all the shelves and the doors. There's loads of space down here. Similarly, down here, you can access a 12 volt. There's 2 USB-Cs up here, by the way. They're very fast. I've charged the GoPro to 60% from nothing in like half an hour. And more storage down here. On these seats, again, they're very comfortable. There's really good lumbar support in them, actually. So if you're someone who has back issues, you do lots of driving, it's another thing to consider. All the fun and games from Tesla are still here, like the whoopee cushion and the romance setting and all that stuff. And then your cameras, man, the cameras are so good. They just pick up everything, and they can do sepia tones and stuff. It's just all those little quirky things that just make Tesla a bit different. And then you have dash cam where you can save footage and any of that stuff, all control there. And the sat nav, all the controls are so good and so fast. And you know, if you want to access your Tesla superchargers up near Castle Bellingham, down in Cork where their latest chargers are, with their pop-up dealership, all there and all easy to find. Same size screens you get in the Model 3 also. I think it really is the motto of this car. Just think Model 3, but a bit bigger, bit more practicality, more space in the back, a little bit more headroom, and a higher up seating position. Not to mention the added cost, because you can get a standard range Model 3 for just under 50 grand, where this is just under 70. So there is quite a difference in cost. But as I say in every Tesla review, the quality of the materials and the fit and the finish, it just gets better all the time. They're a long way from where they were even 3 years ago in terms of build quality, in my opinion. CCS charging port here, plug it in, it'll do 11 kilowatt onboard charging. It'll do 250 kilowatts if you can get those chargers, and you'll put 100 miles or mid 150 kilometers into the car in about 5 to 7 minutes. So it's really, really quick in terms of faster charging. And these things are really important to some people, not as important to others. Just depends what kind of driving you're doing. If you do lots of motorways, that faster charging really is worth it. So the power specs kind of speak for themselves. You've got 346 brake horsepower and 527 Newton meters of torque in the long range version, which this is. And then you've got a performance version coming in 2022, which is going to be 3.5 seconds to 60. This is barely 5 anyway. That will have 450 brake horsepower and 639 Newton meters of torque, which is still quite a bit less than the Ford Mustang Mach-E. But I mean, I think that's enough. Now straight away, I'm hearing there's rattles off the rear seats as you go over imperfections on the road. And I know from watching Rory Reid's video, and Rory's stuff is class, he doesn't need a shout out from me, but you should watch his stuff anyway. When you readjust the headrest on the rear seats, that kind of rattle is gone. Now, look, it's been well documented in Teslas, but if you floor it, it really is incredibly fast. Like the thing, I wouldn't say it's struggling for torque steer, but wow, like the pickup is immense in it. The elevated driving position that's claimed in the car, yeah, I'd fully agree with that. I mean, compared to the Model 3, which is kind of sitting on the floor or the road, yeah, it is massively elevated. And actually, when you see the car in the flesh, I think the video probably isn't going to do it justice. I'd love to sit it next to an X, and I really don't think there'd be much in it. It's a very, very spacious car. So much so that I feel like there's almost an echo in here between glass and just vastness. On the lightest steering setting, it's probably too light. I have it in sport, which is still really, really reactive. Like any minor inputs has the car turning. And yeah, it's not going to stick to the road in a non-body roll sense of the word anyway, compared to the Model 3 and even the S, but definitely the 3. It has been criticised for the harshness of the ride on it. Yeah, you do feel bumps. Now I'm on a reasonably good road here. That's going to change in a couple of minutes, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. This car is fitted with autopilot that observes all sorts of vehicles around you as you drive, and objects and traffic lights and cones and cyclists, and everything is picked up by that. And of course you can do things like change lanes if you're on the motorway. Now there's some bumps here, and yes, it is, you can hear rattles. You go over kind of drains and just imperfections. It also obviously depends how fast you're going, and I mean, there's decent thickness of rubber on these tires. It's not like it's sitting on rubber bands at all. I love the sound of that acceleration. It's just like this little machine coming to life. Now, one thing I definitely can't fault the sharpness of the steering, particularly in that sport mode. Like it does tuck in. You do feel the weight of it kind of just transfer a little bit. I just love though that it's clearly, you know, an SUV, but it will keep up with the best of the best in a straight line, at least anyway. There's definitely lots of rattles and noises coming from back there, and yeah, it's no doubt it's the firmest Tesla I've ever driven. I love the regen. It works away in the background. You don't have any control over it. I do have a chill mode for acceleration. I don't seem to have, it has creep mode, but that's grayed out, so I'm not quite sure what the story is there. But these are kind of Dublin mountain roads. They're wet today. There's leaves on them. This is a horrendous turn for anybody that is familiar with the area. Will it make it? Will it make it? Yep, just about. And then we floor it. Oh, the grip is so good in that sense. Like, how does something over 2 ton move this quickly? And like I don't know, you're not going to be rallying this thing, but certainly on roads that, yeah, so you can feel the weight a little bit just as you, and it's not in a kind of it's losing grip sense. It's just, you just feel the transfer of weight through a corner a little bit. But like, yeah, it's not a Model 3, but you know what? It's not bad. Now, these are roads I know all my life, and I've driven them all my life as soon as I've been able to drive, so I know them particularly well. But it's still okay. Like, it's not hot hatch type levels of cornering. You gotta feel the weight of just the forces pressing you into your seat. I don't know, like, it's of this style of vehicle, I'd still say it's pretty much up there. It's just the Model 3 handles so well that maybe I could feel a bit of wheel slip in there, and it gripped it back into place nicely. My ears are starting to pop now because we're up so high. And then when you have the auto regen as well, you're just using the throttle at all times. I haven't had to brake at all. Even on these twisties, even squeezing the throttle when I need to, but then lifting off, and it tucks in reasonably okay. This is a particularly sharp bend here. Whoop, there's a car. It's not an EV actually, it's an e-Niro. It's definitely wide, like it feels like a wide car. Bit of a kind of a changing of the surface here now on the roads. Still so goddamn quick. Wow. There's a lot of shelter now from trees here. And like there's a lot of kind of slippy stuff on the roads, but it's coping with it perfectly well. Just gone over the cat's eyes now in the middle of the road because it's quite a narrow road, and you really do feel them up through the steering wheel, and you feel it in the car, in the cabin, and the noise off them. Yeah. It's firm, but very, very quick in a straight line. And you know what? I think some reviews have been overly harsh on the cornering aspect of it. It is an option for people that want something big, but the X was either just too big or too expensive. To start brand new, late 60s, yeah, it's expensive. There's no getting away from that. You've got to factor in your really significantly cheaper running cost than running a typical car like this on petrol or diesel, and add in the fact that it's so powerful. If this was an equivalent petrol engine, you'd be eating juice. And the design of the car, where it hasn't got a grille, it's just aerodynamics is the name of the game. And the fact that Tesla can do what they do with a 70 kilowatt hour battery amazes me every time. This thing will do over 500 kilometers if you have the long range version, which is the first one you'll be able to order. Yeah, it's a little bit harsh. Doesn't handle as well as a Model 3. Name me a car of this design that does. But I think when you look at something like the Enyaq, and there is a 7-seater version of this coming, and the ID4, it is a little bit dearer. And they're very good cars from brands that everyone knows. Tesla are still a little bit cool, which some people will love, and others, it'll just be more familiar to them to get into something that they've seen and they've maybe had before. But you know what? The right colour, the right spec, and that white interior, this could be a really good looking car. And at least it's another really great option if you're after this style of car and you want an EV. And if no one buys these cars new, there won't be a used market. So hey, if you've got deep pockets, get buying. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.